Welcome to the debate. Look, right now, 65% of the 2027 Formula One grid is completely empty. Over half the paddock is just paralyzed.
Yeah, it is the ultimate bottleneck. The entire driver market is essentially holding its breath, just waiting to see what the reigning world champion actually decides to do.
Exactly. Driver managers are stalling on multi-million-dollar contracts, and it is entirely because of one man, Max Verstappen. So our central question today emerges directly from the aggressive maneuvers we are seeing right now, both on the track and in the boardroom.
Right. We have to ask, do Max Verstappen's recent extracurricular racing decisions and the surrounding paddock maneuvers indicate a calculated, strategic exit from Red Bull?
Or are these simply the pragmatic, momentary actions of an uncompromising competitor who is, just capitalizing on his current leverage?
Let me be clear where I stand right off the bat. I view these moves as undeniable, calculated precursors to a Red Bull departure. He is actively building his exit ramp.
Well, I look at the exact same data and I come to a completely different conclusion. I argue these are purely sporting decisions, driven by an insatiable thirst for immediate performance, and they are completely blown out of proportion by standard driver market paranoia. The paddock is seeing ghosts.
Let's start by looking at the most glaring ghost in the room then. We have to talk about the undeniable media slight Verstappen has just orchestrated against Red Bull's most vital incoming corporate partner. I mean, we're talking about Ford. Okay. But if you're thinking it's just an extracurricular GT3 race, who cares? You have to look at his actual motivations.
But wait, you have to understand the mechanics of this partnership first. Ford is bankrolling the 2026 Red Bull Powertrains project. They are the literal bedrock of Red Bull's future. Yet Max enters the GT World Challenge Europe and the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, and he deliberately chooses not to drive the Ford Mustang GT3 Evo.
Right.
Instead, he signs a multi-year agreement to run a Mercedes-AMG GT3. He is actively choosing to build his bespoke Verstappen racing infrastructure around a direct corporate and on-track rival. You can't ignore that.
I'm not ignoring it, but you have to look at the actual psychology and the operational reality of the driver we are analyzing here. Max Verstappen is an untamable beast who only sees one metric, and that is the stopwatch.
But the optics?
He doesn't care about corporate optics. He chose the Mercedes platform simply because the operational team, the technical support, the chassis dynamics, they were already completely optimized. The Mercedes is a turnkey race-winning machine right now.
Yes, but
The Mustang GT3 Evo is still in its developmental phase. He wants to win this weekend, not 2 years from now. So to suggest his choice of a GT3 car is some political 40 chess move completely misreads his character.
I disagree, because you cannot separate the driver from the corporate reality when the stakes are this unbelievably high. Ford didn't just casually offer him a brochure for a car.
No, obviously not.
They made a massive, concerted commercial and technical push to supply the Mustang for Verstappen racing. They wanted everything in-house. When Max drives the Mercedes GT3, he is taking his real-world engineering feedback, his precise data on tire degradation, chassis stiffness, setup geometry, and he is feeding it directly into a rival manufacturer's ecosystem.
That is a stretch.
It is not a stretch. Ford isn't just losing a PR battle on the Nürburgring, they are being actively denied Verstappen's generational development feedback. Look, isn't this akin to a tech CEO publicly using a rival company's flagship device on a keynote stage? At a certain point, the relentless pursuit of personal preference becomes a tangible, undeniable rejection of the partnership.
Look, I get the tech CEO analogy, but it falls apart completely when you look at how Ford is actually reacting internally. You are applying corporate boardroom logic to a man who literally spends his free time between Grand Prix weekends sweating in a simulator to win virtual endurance races.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Ford's global motorsports director, Mark Rushbrook, explicitly addressed this. He said, "We prefer our Ford drivers stay in Ford, but we love his passion."
Oh, come on. They have to say that. That's just pure PR buffering. What else is Rushbrook going to say? We are furious that our star driver rejected us publicly?
It's not just PR buffering, it is an acknowledgement of reality. They know he prioritizes the turnkey capability of the Mercedes program. Rushbrook and the executives at Ford understands that his relentless drive across all disciplines is exactly what makes him a sharper competitor in Formula One.
It still gives Mercedes a massive win, but it is not a rejection of Ford. It is an acceptance of the fastest available lap time. Even Ford's leadership has made it explicitly clear that they chose Red Bull for the team culture and the engineering infrastructure. Entirely separate from any single driver, they are projecting stability because they know Max is just acting like Max.
See, dismissing it as Max acting like Max ignores the immense leverage he is intentionally generating. For the undisputed star of the Red Bull franchise to parade around the Nürburgring with the three-pointed star of Mercedes plastered on his hood is a calculated flex.
A flex for who?
For Red Bull, he is showing them that his personal brand is larger than their corporate partnerships. He is proving he has options, and he's willing to act on them in broad daylight. But everyone in the paddock already knows Max Verstappen has options. He doesn't need to drive a GT3 car to prove it.
Right. But that exact same ruthless pragmatism, that desire for a turnkey race-winning platform, doesn't stop with his weekend hobbies. It is the exact same logic that is actively pulling him toward McLaren right now in Formula One.
Okay, let's pivot to McLaren then.
The GT3 situation proves he will abandon loyalty the absolute second a faster piece of machinery is available. And look at the current F1 grid. McLaren has achieved absolute technical vanguard status.
Well, their developmental curve has been impressive. I'll definitely grant you that.
Impressive is an understatement. Look at the evolutionary package they brought to Miami. It wasn't just a handful of aerodynamic bolt-ons. It fundamentally proved that their wind tunnel correlation is flawless.
True.
When McLaren puts a part on the car, it works exactly as the simulation predicted. Red Bull's correlation, meanwhile, has been seriously faltering. McLaren isn't just fast, they are structurally robust and financially loaded, and Zak Brown is actively building a bespoke ecosystem to lure Verstappen.
Jumping from McLaren's wind tunnel correlation is excellent to Max Verstappen is moving to Woking is a massive, massive leap. Every team wants him, obviously, but McLaren's rise doesn't automatically equate to a contract signature.
It's not a leap when you look at the specific, targeted actions McLaren's CEO is taking to systematically dismantle Verstappen's support structure at Red Bull. We know there's a groundbreaking, financially staggering offer on the table to lure Gianpiero Lambiase, GP, away from Red Bull.
Let's talk about that GP offer, because I think the motivation there is being entirely misread by the paddock.
How so? GP isn't just a race engineer. He is the operational translator for Max Verstappen's brain.
He is a great engineer, yes.
In modern Formula One, the race engineer filters the telemetry, manages the driver's cognitive load, and dictates the tactical flow of the race. If McLaren is aggressively headhunting the one man who keeps Max anchored to the Red Bull pit wall, they aren't just hiring an engineer. They are trying to transplant Max's central nervous system to Woking.
That is a highly romanticized view of what Zak Brown is actually doing. Let me offer a much more pragmatic explanation, rooted in the mechanics of the modern cost cap.
Go ahead.
Zak Brown is doing exactly what any elite, ruthless CEO does. He is destabilizing a direct rival by bidding up the price of their key talent. If McLaren throws a massive financial offer at GP, Red Bull is forced to match it to keep him.
Right, financial warfare.
Exactly. Under the stringent regulations of the F1 budget cap, every extra $1 million Red Bull has to pay to retain their engineering staff is $1 million they absolutely cannot spend on front-wing development or floor upgrades. It doesn't mean Max is secretly texting Zak Brown asking him to hire his friends.
But why target GP specifically, out of all the brilliant minds at Milton Keynes?
You target GP because you want the driver attached to him.
You target GP because he is highly visible and deeply integral to Red Bull's immediate trackside operations. And structurally, where does Max even fit at McLaren?
In a race seat.
But look at the reality of their roster. They already have two elite, highly rated drivers locked into multi-year contracts in Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. They have harmony. Why would Zak Brown detonate his own stable driver pairing? Because Formula One contracts aren't locked vaults. They are just price tags. If Max Verstappen calls Zak Brown tomorrow and says, "I want that seat," that multi-year contract is just an invoice waiting to be paid. A team like McLaren will find the buyout money by tomorrow morning.
Finding the buyout money is one thing. Giving up a custom-built empire is another. Red Bull is not a crumbling organization. They still possess elite infrastructure, a staggering budget, and a proven historical track record of massive reconstruction.
They are definitely struggling with correlation right now, though.
Minor struggles. Max knows the Milton Keynes factory inside and out. Why would he abandon a system designed entirely around his driving style to walk into McLaren, where he has to deal with intense internal politics and two entrenched drivers?
Well, if Red Bull's structure is so utterly secure, and if Max is so deeply entrenched in their culture, why is Mercedes publicly dismantling their own negotiating leverage just to court him?
What do you mean?
Rival team principals do not go into the media and practically beg for a driver unless they know definitively through back-channel communications that the driver's actively looking for the exit door. And more importantly, why hasn't Verstappen definitively shut them down? One sentence from Max ends the speculation. He refuses to say it.
Because the ambiguity serves him perfectly. This is where we see the brilliance of Max Verstappen off the track. By letting Mercedes and McLaren publicly court him, he keeps immense, unrelenting pressure on Red Bull to accelerate their own development.
So it's just a motivational tactic?
It is the ultimate motivational tool. Max demands perfection. If Red Bull's engineering team thinks he might walk, they will work 25-hour days to ensure that wind tunnel data translates to the track. He is using the market speculation as a whip to drive his own team forward. It is not a departure itinerary.
Well, that might be how Max views it, but the rest of the grid doesn't see it as a motivational tactic. They see it as an impending earthquake. And this brings us to the downstream consequences. Let's look at how the mere possibility of his departure is actively paralyzing the rest of the grid.
I agree the market is stalling, absolutely. But the mechanics of why it's stalling don't require a secret Verstappen exit plan. Take Oscar Piastri, for example.
Right, let's talk about Piastri.
There is a palpable sense that Piastri is feeling overshadowed in the internal dynamic at McLaren right now, especially with the upgrades favoring Norris early on. His manager is Mark Webber. Webber raced for Red Bull. He knows the DNA of Milton Keynes intimately.
Exactly.
Webber is actively surveying the landscape because he sees a potential opportunity. Red Bull is looking at Piastri as the ultimate contingency plan if things go south. But that's exactly what it is, a contingency. Webber is just securing a lifeboat. It doesn't mean he has secret knowledge that Max is definitively leaving.
It is far more than a lifeboat. Webber knows how Red Bull operates. He knows they don't start seriously evaluating external replacement candidates unless their internal telemetry suggests their star driver is fundamentally unsettled. But look beyond Piastri. Look at the absolute paralysis of Carlos Sainz.
Sainz is a different story.
Williams has placed a concrete, highly lucrative, 2-year renewal on the table for 2027 and 2028, a guaranteed seat. Yet Sainz is completely stalling.
Sainz stalling is just basic self-preservation, honestly. Williams has had a massive performance drop recently. They've fallen violently behind Alpine in the development race. Why lock yourself into a struggling Williams project when there is even a fractional chance a top-tier seat opens up?
But you have to consider the history of his choices. Sainz previously rejected a highly lucrative, long-term foundational offer from Audi to go to Williams in the first place. He believed in the Williams trajectory.
And now he doesn't.
If he is now stalling on the very project he sacrificed an Audi factory drive for, specifically to wait for Verstappen's seat, doesn't that prove something significant? The elite paddock insiders believe the Red Bull exit is truly happening. They are seeing the telemetry of a move.
That is a massive assumption about what Carlos Sainz knows versus what Carlos Sainz is hoping for. His confidence in Williams was shattered by their recent development failures, specifically their inability to shed weight from the chassis. He's hitting the panic button.
You think he's just hoping for a miracle?
He is praying for a cascading domino effect, a grid-wide chain reaction that miraculously leaves him in a championship-winning seat, but relying on the desperate defensive hopes of Carlos Sainz as empirical proof of Max Verstappen's inner geopolitical strategy is fundamentally flawed.
It isn't just the desperate hope of one driver, though. It is the collective, systemic behavior of the entire grid. Zach Brown actively bidding for Lambiase, Mercedes publicly tossing aside their own negotiating power, Webber aggressively positioning Piastri, Sainz freezing the midfield market.
It's just risk management.
all of these hyper-intelligent, incredibly data-driven organizations are behaving as if Verstappen moving is a highly probable outcome. They don't freeze multi-million-dollar budgets on a whim.
They freeze them because the stakes of missing out are catastrophic. If there is even a 1% possibility that a generational talent like Max is available, you have to act. You have to pause your secondary plans. In modern Formula One, as the regulations stabilize, the cars get closer together.
Right, technical convergence.
Exactly. Suddenly, the only difference between a world championship and finishing second is the operational brilliance of the driver in the cockpit. Mercedes and McLaren know that in equal machinery, Max is a killer. They are positioning themselves just in case.
Which brings us to the synthesis of this entire chaotic landscape. The evidence we've pulled apart today really does paint two very vivid contrasting pictures. From my perspective, when you connect the mechanisms, the picture is clear.
Let's hear it.
The combination of the GT3 Mercedes proxy war, denying Ford crucial R&D, McLaren's targeted destabilization by going after the one engineer who translates Max's inputs, and the grid-wide paralysis, it all points to an imminent and calculated Verstappen exit. He is signaling his availability and preparing his landing zone.
And I maintain that while the Formula One driver market moves incredibly fast, Max Verstappen's core identity remains completely unchanged. He is an uncompromising racer. His actions are rooted in pure sporting pragmatism. He wants the fastest car on a Sunday, period.
So it's all just posturing.
The chaos we are witnessing isn't a master plan orchestrated by Max. It is merely opportunistic defensive posturing by other camps who are absolutely terrified of missing out.
Well, we certainly agree on one undeniable fact. Max Verstappen holds the absolute key to the entire market. He is the sun around which the rest of the 2027 grid currently orbits. But our disagreement remains fiercely intact over whether his current trajectory is a deliberate political exit strategy or just the brute force optimization of a born winner.
Well, the true test of these theories is coming sooner rather than later. When the summer break hits and those infamous performance exit clauses activate within these contracts, we won't have to rely on paddock rumors. The contract buyout mechanisms will speak for themselves.
Exactly. Because in Formula One, fortunes, allegiances, and structural stability can change radically from month to month. We always have to look past the current standings and understand the underlying mechanisms. So, we leave you, the listener, to form your own conclusion. When the telemetry of loyalty is this chaotic, who do you trust? The aggressive posturing on the track or the silence in the boardroom?